Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on when and where you are. Welcome to another Festival in a Box session. This is our Festival in a Box 3.0, so it's the end of 2021, beginning of 22. And what a year it's been, and what another crappy year. Anyway, delighted to say that we've got Ian O'Brien from Waterford Distillery to join us for the Cuvee tasting session. He's going to tell us all about the bottling, about Waterford Distillery, and a bit about himself, obviously. And hopefully you'll enjoy it. And don't forget to grab the Waterford bottling from your pack and get a glass. And let's get going. I'm going to bring Ian in now. Ian, good morning. How are you doing?
Morning, Eddie. Long time no see.
It's been all of 6 months, I think.
6 months and nothing much has really changed. I'm still sitting in the exact same place. They don't move me from here anymore. This is all I do is sit in front of computer screens.
We do feel honoured.
No,
just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, and then a transformer called Omicron comes and ruins it all again.
Yeah, we got a little bit of respite there from the September up to now. And I was out on the road a good bit actually. It was in Paris, it was over in London, bits and bobs around Europe, and now all of a sudden they pull the rug from under us again, and we need to get boosters and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
I think it's just going to be a way of life, I think, for a good few years or maybe forever. We never know.
God, let's not get this started with such a somber tone. Let's drink some whiskey.
That's a whiskey, yeah.
Okay, listen, Ian, obviously we've spoken before, but there might be a few folks at home who haven't come across your good self yet. So do you want to just quickly introduce yourself and what it is you do? I've described you as doer of stuff, simply because it sounds like you've done pretty much everything at the distillery and outside the distillery.
I'm actually going to get that put on my business cards. Yeah, I'm going to have people buying doer of stuff all for the distillery. My name is Ian, you obviously know that, but I was a distiller here for 6 years, and I was kind of doing a little bit with social media then at the time because we were so young and new, so we were kind of crossing over on jobs. But in February, I moved into this kind of ambassadorial doer of stuff, as you called it, and I'm enjoying it. Yeah, I kind of like this. I think it kind of appeals to me a little bit more to be there with the people, talking about the whiskies, telling them what's happening with Waterford and what's going to happen with Waterford, I suppose, in the future. But yeah, I do everything from tastings, talking to farmers, walking fields. Yeah, it's better than sitting behind 2 copper stills for 12-hour shifts and things like that.
I know some people who absolutely love that. At least it's warm.
Well, but it's warm all year round.
That's true.
It's lovely in the winter, but not so nice in the winter. And plus the fact I've been sitting, I used to be a former Guinness brewer on this site. This used to be a former Guinness brewer before Mark Rainey came and turned it into a distillery. And I was sitting behind the same desk for close on 16 years. So I think age got the better of me, and I think a bit of a day roll and a bit of traveling here and there now might suit me a lot better going forward.
So it sounds like you switched from beer to whiskey through sheer laziness than anything else.
Yeah, when Mark got the keys, I was still up behind the desk. So who is this guy? I'll just give him a job. He's not going to move now. I had this big, huge Gandalf beard on the earphones.
Oh, brilliant. Anyway, listen, we are here to talk about whiskey, so I think let's. I've got my bottle of the Cuvee here. I'm going to pour myself a wee bit.
A small morning dram.
A small morning breakfast dram. Yeah.
Breakfast dram, yeah.
And so perhaps if you could tell us, because obviously we featured the Grattonsbrook bottling in the previous festival in a box, and you described, I think, that the fact the names are taken from the farms where the barley has come from. Now the Cuvee obviously is a slight departure from that, so perhaps you can fill us in on what the Cuvee is and what it's all about.
I suppose. Well, Grattan's Brook was one of the single farms that we started brewing. Or sorry, it was grown first, and then we brewed it and distilled it. So it was kind of a stepping stone, I suppose. And this is the next progression then, where Mark, who comes from a wine background, obviously talks about the Cuvee, where he assembles these single farms together, or some of these single farms together, to produce what we have now, which is going to be our flagship bottling going forward, I suppose, for forevermore, the Cuvee. So the Cuvee, this Cuvee that we have here, this is the first Cuvee that we have, and there's 25 of those single farms in these together. And what we want to do is we've played around with the flavors from different farms, and now we're just going to layer those different farms. So like this one is 25. The next Cuvee in a year and a half or 2 years' time mightn't have 25 farms. It might have 15 or it might have 30. It depends on what Ned, the head distiller here, he finds that's maturing well and what actually works really well together. So again, same as our single farm origin bottles, this is bottled at strength-wise at 50% ABV, and all our range across is at 50% ABV. So we kind of want to give the customer a bit of a bang for their buck, as they say. So that's basically what the Cuvee is going to be from now on. It'll probably be depicted with a different label every time it comes out. This one is by an up-and-coming young Irish artist called Leah Hewson, and the name of the artwork is called Binary Assimilation. It sounds like I get attacked by the Borg and Star Trek. but it's quite more. It's quite not as drastic as that. It's quite a nice. It won't change our minds or anything.
Oh God, I haven't heard that word for a while. The Borg.
The Borg.
Brilliant. Okay, so in terms of flavour, what should we be looking for in here? What do you find in the Cuvee?
So we have some of our oldest whiskies in this. So it's aged between 3 and 5 years. So some of our oldest whiskey, a 5-year-old whiskey in here. So you should be getting nice honeyed notes and some nice caramel notes coming through on that. But there's a good bit of Oloroso coming through on that as well at the end. And you'll find that actually in the taste too when we get to taste it in a couple of seconds.
Yeah, it's very
soft. Spicy. It's a bit spicy too, coming in the back of it.
Yeah, but it's not a sort of hard spice. It's quite a
it's quite sweet spice. It's not like white pepper or something like that, you know.
No. I think I might give it.
It's got these fruits that's coming through in it as well.
I'm going to taste it without adding water to it to begin with.
A bit more spice coming through there now.
Yeah, you definitely get more of that spice. Yeah, it's very. I didn't expect as much sherry influence, but it definitely is there, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a good bit of sherry influence.
So, would you be able to say approximately how much of that is from sherry casks, or?
So I think it's about. I had it open a few minutes ago. It's about 15% VDN cask. So the sherry cask, and there's a bit of port in this as well, actually.
Oh, right, okay. It's really
rather. It's quite pleasant. It's quite a pleasant dram. And it's quite a big departure from our single farm bottlings, where they were pretty we had Grattan's Brook last March, and it's quite a departure from that, because you've, like as we say, we had 25 of these farms assembled together, so you're getting all these different nuances that's coming through. Still a single malt, of course, because they all come straight from Waterford. But
yes, quite. Oh, that's thoroughly enjoying that. I'm kind of loath to put water in it, actually, even though it's 50%. It's quite strong, but it feels about right.
Yeah, it feels about, yeah, and well, that's personally, that's probably your own palate as such as well. But I think 50 is a good representation for a whiskey. You know, I think you get. Of course, it's not cast strength, so we're not actually getting straight what's coming from all those casts or cast strength and then put together a bottling range. So, because of the way that Waterford works, we think that 50 works really well with our whiskies, because they're quite young too, and quite spirit forward, I suppose, because they're so young. And also 50% just lets that barley come through as well at the back of it as well.
Yeah, because if I remember the Graftonsbrook, it almost smells of the farm. You know, it's a very earthy whiskey.
Yeah.
Whereas this for me is maybe a little bit more refined and a little bit more rounded and sweet.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way of putting it. It's also got a bit more age to it, I suppose. You know, it's got components that have a bit more age to it. Where the Graftonsbrook, I think, was just over the 3 years old, so like just whiskey by regulations, which is good. I think there's lots of new distilleries that are out there at the moment. You know, they have to make a buck somewhere, so they have to bring out bottles quite young. But I think they're doing really a real good job on it. And I think even with my company, I'll take the company hat off it, but I think Waterford make a good whiskey. I think they're making a good whiskey. I think, and there's stuff there for everybody. Like, you know, you can have the geeks who maybe want to delve a little bit further into the single farms, and then you have the more ordinary or more casual drinker who would like a glass of Waterford. And I think this one might appeal to them a lot more.
Those with more simple tastes, like me, you mean?
Simpletons. Sometimes I can be the geek, and sometimes I just want to just not think about what I'm. Well, it's not that I not want to think about what I'm drinking, but it's nice to have a nice dram to go to like this. And I think with Cuvee, I think it's it's pretty. It's good. It's good to have this, you know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a great whiskey to start the day with, as I am. And now, listen, while we enjoy that, Ian, could you just fill us in on you know, how Waterford came to be, and you know, what you guys do there? You know, if there's anything you do differently. I mean, you've already mentioned obviously the single farms, but obviously that's of interest, and anything else that might be, you know, slightly different to the way others do things. If you could just do that, that'd be great.
So basically, what we started with was discovering how barley brings flavor to the actual whiskey, since it's one of the three main ingredients that goes into making whiskey. We thought, let's go into that a little bit more in depth. And while we were doing that, we found we went more into flavor, I suppose, more than anything else. What flavor it brings. So over the next couple of years, we're going to delve into more heritage style varieties of barley that were used in the past in Ireland. So up this year, next year coming, we will have Hunter coming out, which was our first experiment with heritage barley varieties. And Hunter was a barley variety that was last used in Ireland in the 1950s, and was widely used across brewing and distilling on the island, but seemed to be wiped out. And I think it was wiped out because the big players came in and they just wanted money. So they developed new strains of barley from Hunter as a parent variety, and they brought in things like Pupino and Overture and stuff like that arrived, where you got more yield of alcohol per acre than you would of Hunter. So that's our next experiments. And the year after that, we'll have Goldthorpe, which is an older variety again. And then after that, we will have a Landrace. And a Landrace is pretty much not a variety as such, but more a type of barley that was grown in certain areas or localities within Ireland in different communities and things like that. So that's our next thing is our flavour stuff. And we also have released organic whiskies. We have Gaia 1.1 and 1.2, and we had 2.1 out this year, which is the second harvest of organic. And in September, we brought out the world's first biodynamic whiskey, and called Luna. So there's all these little things going on the whole time in our whiskey range or architecture or whatever you want to call it. So that's basically what we're trying to do. We're trying to delve into flavor and go back. So when you think about organic, it doesn't use any pesticides or any fertilizers or anything like this. So basically, this is how whiskey would be made 100 years ago. Mm-hmm. It's that flavor profile as such. It's just that it's made in this distillery here. We're not saying it's exactly what it was, but it's how it would have been made.
Yes. It sounds. Thinking back to my wine days, it very much sounds like a wine approach, which I suppose, given Mark's background, is quite.
He kind of started this in Bruichladdich, and then Bruichladdich got sold under him, and he said he wants to continue on that journey and that way of thinking about making whiskies, and he's done it with Waterford. Now he's proved it. With the whole aspect of what terroir brings to the actual barley. There's a scientific paper now that proves that it's there in new make, so we're on to the next stage of that. And can we still pick out the actual flavor compounds that's in the barley from each farm that continues on into maturation, and can we find it in cask?
Yeah. I suppose it'll just become more and more interesting just to see how the different all the different casks from the different varietals and farms age through the years, and how they react to the extra maturation
and the different harvests. So you're talking like vintages, I suppose, more than anything else. We don't know if we will actually we might or might not have age statements further on down the line, but we're still a pretty young distillery. We're like I know our big have a wee beastie and they say it's 5 years old, but it's a marketing thing. And I suppose everything in such a way is a marketing thing, but it's not. We're very transparent about what we do. Like, all the information is there. You see on the back of this bottle, there's a terroir code. You can just type that into the website, and you'll get more information than you possibly even need to know about whiskey. So there's two types of whiskey drinker out there now. There's the geeky ones that we all know about, but there's also a regular drinker, and we're not in the business to confuse people or to be like a science experiment. We're also making really, really good whiskies.
Yeah. Well, that's always important to remember, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very important. Because there's that market, that people just want to pick up a bottle of whiskey that's really well made, has lots of good flavors. That's the ticket, really, at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of what's to come, it sounds like there's going to be a huge kind of almost limitless permutations of bottlings and things. Yeah. But the Cuvee, as you say, is going to be the flagship, so that if people like it, they can just keep buying that and occasionally dip into the single farms. And
the Cuvee won't necessarily, like, it's not like Johnny Walker. It's not going to taste like this. The next version of the Cuvee will have a different flavor profile.
Yes.
As such, but it will be the same type of thing. I suppose it's like it's pretty much like wine. I suppose we're not there to produce a bottle that's going to completely always stand. Not from my knowledge of it anyway. I'm only a doer of stuff. I don't make these calls, but we just hope that we bring out this Cuvee every 2 years. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll have new artwork again and a new up and coming artist, and we'll promote that person as well, like we did with this person.
Okay, and more assimilation then.
More Borg.
More Borg. You can never have enough Borg in your life. Now, obviously, you have managed to get out a little bit this year, which is great, and hopefully, boosters and Omicrons, Decepticons, notwithstanding, you'll be able to get out again in the not too distant. When you're out and about and in the international scene, is there anything that you've seen distilling wise that excites you, or or even concerns you? You know, is there anything that really has caught your attention?
I don't know. I think there was just around September time. There was just because we had been locked up for so long, and I think for me, I think what we missed over the last few years is that community thing. I think whiskey is very important. People are a very important part of whiskey, and I think we all missed that. We were in Paris. That was the first place we went to, and that was like we never got we launched in the middle of this pandemic our first whiskeys and stuff like that. So we never got a chance to see what it's like, and I think people wanted that buzz and that feel for it again. And I think that's the big thing for me. Just some really good up-and-coming distilleries here in Ireland too. They're all starting over in Scotland as well. There's just a good feel, I think, again, hopefully we can get back out on the road again. I think just more travel restrictions after coming in the last few days again. But hopefully it's just to get us over the Christmas period.
Sorry, you answered that a bit quickly. I was having a tea break. Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, I think everyone's bored of the current, the past situation. It feels like a kind of united nightmare, doesn't it? Really, but you know, I don't want to dwell on that too much because everyone reads and watches the news every day, and they're living it themselves. So, let's go back to nice, bright, breezy. In terms of a tipple outside of whiskey, what's your thing?
Yeah, I like a good craft beer every now and again. There's a one of the farms that grow barley for us here called Ballycalcavan in he has his own microbrewery, and he brings off all these red ale. He makes a really, really good red ale. I'm a bit of a sucker for a red ale.
A red ale.
A red ale, yeah.
Oh.
It's pretty nice. I should have something to plug him as well, maybe. But no, I do like a beer every now and again, or a glass of wine. I'm at home. I wouldn't be really that much of a drinker, really. I suppose it's only when I'm out working. I like to do like a glass of whiskey at home, maybe. That's
yeah.
Or I've over the last couple of years got a penchant for Geneva from Holland.
Okay,
that's quite a nice spirit, actually. So there's a few of those from, I think it's a Dutch and Belgian thing, and it's got quite similar. You can, as a whiskey drinker, I can find a lot of connection with that, actually. It's quite nice, pretty old Genevers that I like.
Nice. Yeah, I must admit, at Christmas time the last few years, I've decided to experiment and step out of my comfort zone, because obviously, there's only, well, I was going to say there's only so much whiskey you can drink, but I'm constantly challenged that and pushing the envelope on that. So this year, I think I'm going to dip my toes into Calvados.
Oh. When I was at Paris Live, actually, and I got a couple of minutes, a bit of a break, I went to, which I never really got into, but I went to a cognac stand. Like 56-year-old cognac and 70-year-old cognac, and I was just going, holy, this is that's something good, and it's actually quite affordable, actually. When you think about it, like, there's no way you could afford a 56-year-old bottle of whiskey.
Yeah,
you can if you're being bankrolled by someone or something. But you could get really good old cognacs for not bad money. Like, and I'm talking from really good chateaus and stuff like that. So maybe I would take a look into cognac. Maybe my New Year's resolution.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. I mean, I love whiskey, and I'll never shift it from being my favorite. But it's always worth trying new stuff.
Yeah,
and certainly in our festival pack, there's a couple of interesting things. There's a rum and cognac in there as well. So.
And that's another thing that Waterford, Mark Rainey has. He has his rum plant now as well in Grenada.
Yes.
He's got an unaged rum out at the moment, or 5 different terroirs. But it's been 1 year in cask now, so we're looking forward to that when that comes out in the next couple of years.
Oh.
A good rum is good too, yeah.
And what's that called, Ian?
It's called Renegade.
Renegade. I'm
Yeah.
sure I've heard of that.
From Grenada, yeah.
Oh, well, I'll keep an eye out for that as well. Well, listen, Ian, it's been great to just have a chat with you, and thanks so much for coming on and talking about the Cuvee. It's been, well, it's going down, I'll tell you that. It's very pleasant indeed. But yes, thanks so much, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we can all get this thing under control again, and we might even meet in person next year. You
know what? This is such deja vu. You said that to me in March, and we're still here talking. I think you're a man of false promises. I get my hopes up every time I talk to you, and every time I talk to you, hopefully in the future I get to meet you. Hopefully too, Eddie. Hopefully too.
Yeah, no, we will. We'll make it happen,
Yeah,
even if our respective governments can't.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway, listen, you have a great day, and well, it's nearly the weekend, so you have a good weekend too. And if I'm not speaking to you before, have a great Christmas and New Year with your family and friends, and yeah, we'll hopefully see you in the new year.
And likewise, Eddie. Thanks very much for having me.
Sláinte.
Sláinte.
Cheers.